Over the last few months, I've been doing the weekly news and review, and here we are again with another week. And I'm surprised, but every week there's a ton of news, like way more than I thought there would be when I started doing this. I'm having a lot of fun with this. So, welcome to the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with this weekly news and review for the 2nd of June, 2019. A lot of great things to talk about. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe, and you'll see when we get a weekly news, and you'll get up to date. And also, I would like a couple likes of this video. Let's see how many likes we can get. I usually get 1,000 views. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes. So, moving into this, we're going to start with the Transformers, and then I end with the Star Wars, and I have a little bit of discussion with Star Wars discussion closer to that. But the first bit of business this week is that Takara is re-releasing their MP13 Soundwave with Laserbeak. Now, this doesn't have the other four. There's technically 6 tapes they made, but it doesn't have any other tapes than just the one Laserbeak. And I gotta tell you that at this point, this one has had the Takara, it's had the Toys R Us release that had all 5 tapes, and then they've had the separate tapes overseas. Then they've had some knockoffs. Toy House Factory did theirs, and the Robot Hero I hear is the best knockoff, with comes with all the tapes for like $80. This thing's gonna be anywhere, depending on where you get it, as cheap as $110, as much as $150. So I have to say the official is still better than any knockoff. So if you're sitting here saying, should I try to get a knockoff and try to get all the tapes, I would rather get this and go after the MMC tapes. That's just my personal opinion. It is nice to have both, but that's my opinion. And I think this is a great figure still, but I know there actually could be a better one coming out down the road eventually. So there's another company called Blue Lobster, and they're coming out with an Autobot X. They call it Frank, as in Frankenstein, and well, this is a non-transformable transformer, and it's kind of like the X Transbots version. In the X Transbots one, I think it's going to have more posability than this one, but this looks pretty good. I'm thinking this should be like a $39.99 option, and the X Transbots is going to be more like a $69.99 option, in my opinion. No pricing on any of that, and it really does feel like we've kind of been put on hold here a bit with X Transbots. So Blue Lobster might, well, they probably will. That's all they got on their plate right now. But as you know, all these new third-party companies have some sort of tie to another third-party company, or 2, 3, or 4. So it's probably not just some dude in his garage that started a new company. This does look good, though. It does match the animation very well. And I know that right now, in this day and age, we're trying to match animation. So there's going to be a lot of people that are in for something like that, simply because of how it matches the animation. There's also been a few other pictures. Like, it's interesting how they put out those pictures, and then a few days later we get some color pictures with some backgrounds to them, and it looks good. Like, I know that nobody cares about Autobot X, but wouldn't it be cool if it transformed into some junk heap abomination? And it would be interesting to pick it apart of like what each part came from. Like, this chest piece here came from what's his name, Prowl, and then here's Sunstreaker, and here's, just pick it apart, because you could literally pick those apart and figure all that out. So next thing I want to talk about is this Warrior Armed accessory pack for the Dinobot, and hey, it'll work just fine with your KO Dinobot too. Just so you know, they'll fit just fine in there. But with this, it's an extreme amount of pieces and parts, and I don't really see how it's different than the Dr. Wu set. So, no, I'm sorry, Shockwave's Lab set. I don't think Dr. Wu made a set, so it's Shockwave's Lab. But this is from one episode where they geared up to go to war, and yet it's just kind of one of those things. That thing from that episode, this is that group of things that assault. It's crazy. But anyway, it does look kind of cool. If you want your Dinobot to have a prehistoric hammer or a pistol, it's just the way it goes. I mean, they don't need high-tech machinery, but there it is. There it is for you anyway. They don't really need it. Now, I've shown these pictures in a past couple of videos, but I really wanted to wait till the news to talk about them. But Fans Toys has dropped some color photos of their Brawn and their Warpath and their Goose, which is one of the aerial bots. And anyway, with that, the discussion I really want to have real quick about them is I think that they all look good, and I think, well, I know they're going to beat whatever's out there. You know, it's going to be the best for your shelf. Aesthetically, it's going to feel like quality. But then again, there's, of course, like the Final Victory will work for a Brawn, and then we've got the Final Victory will work for a Warpath. But this Warpath is, in my opinion, the Fans Toys is like leaps and bounds better than the Final Victory Warpath. And I don't even consider the Bad Cube one because I don't like that aesthetic. Now, a lot of people love that Bad Cube one. That's just, it's insane. It's not for me. And then this aerial bot, the Goose, looks good. And man, I'm gonna have to make a whole separate video about Fans Toys combiners because I could talk for an hour about that, and I'm gonna have to condense it down to like 15 minutes. But he looks great. Like the aesthetically, he's not exactly G1 cartoon accurate, but I feel like this is better in robot mode than Zeta. And so I don't think I'll even care what the combined mode looks like because I'm not intending to put them in combined mode. I might do it once just to see them side by side, do some pictures, do some video. But this dude looks good. I mean, I had to pre-order him. I couldn't not pre-order these guys. Had to. I don't want to miss out, and I think they sell fast. And I know a lot of people are like, they'll wait and see thing, but I'm sold on the Fans Toys. I mean, just individual bots. I mean, if you just factor out the whole combiner anyway, just don't even think about the combiner and individual bots, they look amazing. I can't pass on them. So next, I want to give my thoughts on the new pictures of MP44. I've already talked about in a past video. If you haven't seen my past video about the KOs, because people keep talking about KOs of MP44 or whatever, then get on it and go watch that one because and it's titled something along the lines of I'll wait for the KO, and that's the most common thing that I hear. But this dude is going to be the best looking, and I'm getting people are giving it so much scrutiny because of the price point, and very well deserved. They deserve to. Takara deserves to get scrutiny over something that they're going to charge $450 for. It's a $500 toy, and it's got to perform. It's got to look good. But I think that just it does, and then they put it in a pose like this to quote unquote show off the articulation. But what it did is it showed off a flaw in the design to where it doesn't have hip flaps. For whatever reason, the way the engineering standpoint is, they got rid of the hip flap, so it folds in. What is sort of a faux hip flap folds in on itself to get the articulation when the leg moves. So it's one of those things that I'm sure I'll be able to pose it and not look stupid like this. It just looks dumb the way they posed it. And then there they are posing it. I think that's just a different angle of that same pose, but from this angle it looks even better, like you don't see it. But here it just looks all sloppy. Yeah, I mean, it just looks bad the way they have it posed. But you see some more engineering with the shoulder and all that great stuff. But I still think he looks great. And then the other thing is the paint, and it just pops. And the truck mode looks good. I mean, it doesn't have the stripe, and everyone complains about the stripe. And I'm wondering why they didn't pose the ankle. I'm sure it's got ankle tilt. Like, you can't not have ankle tilt on that thing. And then they've got the box. Now, I'm big on the boxes, and so I'm guessing a KO of it, if it does come out, isn't going to have the box art. It's going to be in a brown box special, so that's what I'm expecting going forward on those. But yeah, everyone bashes it because of the price. So I think this week the biggest bit of news is classified as a rumor for some reason. But the price and release date of Hound, the MP47, and it's given a number, yes. And it's going to be up for pre-order in June, on June 7th, and released in December. And they're saying it's going to be $165. And you know, that doesn't always translate over because they put it up in yen, and then we get a U.S. price that's different. So it may only be $150 or whatever. But we all expected a $120 price point because all the car bots have been $120. But then now mini-bots took over the 120 price point, and now they're sliding in the car bots at the 165. So that's saying that 2 years ago or whatever, year and a half, 2 years, we got that Sunstreaker for 120. Now Hound is going to go for 165 or 150, a new price point for it. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, it makes sense because it makes the car dollars. And so with this, you have the Hound, the laser scope, jerry cans, spare tire, spike figure, hologram effect, hologram gun, hood parts, key of cage, so for the Ravage cage, a replacement face with a smile, one with a scream, a side mirror, which is a spare runner one set, and a card and a user manual. So they're trying to say, oh, look at all the stuff that comes with it. It's $30 worth of stuff. No, it's not. It's like a $5 accessory pack that's included, but whatever. Anyhow, I do think Hound looks good. And I do think even for 150, you're not getting the Fans Toys Wallace for 150 right now. That thing's going for a lot of money, and it's hard to get. And I don't see Fans Toys re-releasing it. And this will look a little more tuned. But I can't wait to get one in hand to compare. And I think the Amazon Japan price will be probably 120, and it'll be worth 120. Like I can get it 120, but people were getting Sunstreaker for 80 from Amazon Japan when that came out. So it's a more expensive world we live in. So there's a Studio Series KSI Boss, and I have to tell you that I'm not so into the movie stuff, and I'm not so into the Studio Series. Not that they're bad figures, because I think they've done good work. Hasbro did really good work with the Studio Series figures, and if you're into the movie series stuff, that's great. But I'm looking at this KSI Boss, and I've seen all the movies, but I just really... Age of Extinction. I don't know who this is. Is this supposed to be Megatron or something? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know who this is for. So for me, it's like over my head. But then again, so are 90% of the movie bots. You know, I think Prime and Bumblebee, I can spot them out of a crowd. Maybe Jazz. The rest of them, I don't know. When it comes to the movie bots, like I don't get it. But it looks good, and I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad looking bot. It's just I don't really know why it exists. But I do have I think it's Blackout, the Blackout Studio Series helicopter, and he looks good. He looks great. It fits his role. But then again, I don't have any interest in even opening the box, so I don't even know why I have it if I don't even feel like opening it. So okay, so yet again we got another recolor of Starscream in the good old Siege line, and this is a red one called Red Wing, and so I'm not as up on the lore on where he comes from or all the 87 different colors of Seeker, but I do say that it looks pretty cool, and he comes with a nice smirk on his face. Like, it's almost like Starscream deserved that smirk. So, but it's cool. It's all right. It's another Tetrajet. I mean, Tetrajet looks like a Tetrajet. That's pretty much it. Pretty simple, and you know you're gonna be paying $30 for this thing. So when I started talking about the news today, I was talking about how each week I don't have any trouble finding Transformer news. But there's not much going on in the Star Wars world. Like, what they put out for news is very slim pickings in the Star Wars realm right now because it's a big drought, a lull. Just Star Wars is just not as collectible and fun as it used to be. I think it will be again soon, but and they're putting out a bunch of great things. But what I'm seeing on all of the collector sites is reviews of 10-year-old figures, like the last decade of what's been out, and older. And some of them even going as far back as the Power of the Force 2 line, so that they can put daily content up that's interesting and different, because there's not much coming out, and what is coming out is really hard to get. You have to pre-order it or whatever, which that's not fun. I like Thrill the Hunt. But we get unofficial items and news from unofficial. So that's really where all the news this week comes from. So we're looking at this detention block that was created by the Hole in the Ground Productions. Now, I believe this was like a Kickstarter or something you had to get in on, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it looks pretty cool. I think that like I'm just recently gotten into doing some more dioramas, and I appreciate this stuff a lot more now than I did when I started collecting, because I was just like checking off lists and going, and I'm like, I don't need all that, I don't need all that. Well, when you're done collecting, you have pretty much a full collection of Star Wars stuff. What are you gonna do? You want to display it, and then how are you gonna display it if you don't have any sort of a way to display it, or you don't have any means to display it? You don't have stuff like this, and this looks really good. And that detention block scene, there was so much you could do with it. You could tie it into a Death Star, put it adjacent to, near a Death Star, and having 9 Death Stars, I could probably fit this in the middle of my Death Star somewhere and make it work. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And I like stuff like this, and I think that this being successful would probably make Hasbro keep making stuff like their Jaws Palace. So there's another company, and they go by the Cardboard Galaxy, and what they do is they make cardboard to accentuate your playset. So if you get the Jabba Adventure Set, it's called the Jabba Adventure Set Accessory Kit for Arc Inserts for Hasbro playset. So there's like a the doorways, you see some panels, and it gives it some dimension. It's printed well, and lighted well, and just looks like you could walk up those stairs. Looks like you can walk around that corner. So it really does give it dimension to this display, which, by the way, Hasbro should have done that in the first place. By the way, BTW. But anyway, it's like 15 bucks, and you can get them off eBay now. They're sold out, but it's just printing some cardboard. So I would imagine they could just hit print tomorrow and put 15, 20, 30 more up. So I'll try to get a link below in the comment down the comment section or whatever. Anyway, like, subscribe. I want to hear some feedback on like what happened this week in the news. Do y'all like what's going on with Star Wars? Do you like what's going on with Transformers? Titanium Hanger out.